Most of my time in the AFP was in ACT policing, where I was a detective in the Major Crime Squad, prior to which I was a General Duties Patrol Officer. I started recruit training at the age of 44, which was quite novel in those days. I was the oldest AFP recruit at that time, although much older AFP recruits happen today. The highlight of my recruit training was being the worst athlete on the whole course, particularly in the 5-kilometre runs. So I always chose to run with the girls on the course so I didn't look so bad. I became a patrol officer in City Station, General Duties, and was a patrol officer about 2 years. Then I A-listed to become an investigator, and initially in the braking squad at ACT at Canberra Police Station. I then did the detective course and became a detective and served for many years in the Major Crime Squad. The murder of Colin Winchester by David Harold Eastman was a big milestone. I was on the initial investigation team, as most detectives were, and then when Eastman was arrested, I was the liaison officer to the DPP for the course of the trial. So that was a highlight of my detective career. One of the lower points, which was and a very necessary job, was I conducted 14 investigations into suicides, which was a very stressful period of my time as a detective. Whilst I was in uniform, I was a patrol officer working with a chap called Chris Potter. We received a job to check the welfare of a 91-year-old lady who lived in a government duplex in Ainslie. This lady's daughter and son-in-law had been invited to a wedding in Adelaide, and they were reluctant to leave her as she was not able to travel at her advanced stage. But the old lady insisted that they went and that she'd be all right. However, when they arrived in Adelaide and telephoned her, there was no answer. So we were given the job to check welfare. We arrived at the house at Ainslie, and through a very small gap in the window at about 10 o'clock at night, we could see the back of a lady in an armchair facing the television. And we hammered on the door, but no response. Chris Potter noticed that a drain pipe went up the outside of the duplex to an open bathroom window on the second floor. So he tossed who would get the job, and I lost. I clambered up the drain pipe, made a hell of a row getting through the window because there were lots of bottles on the bathroom sink crashing and smashing on the floor. But I got through and went downstairs and went to face the lady sitting in a chair. Her head was leaned back, and a very strange sight presented itself because her top dentures had come out and were resting on her chin. Anyway, she appeared to be, from first sight, appeared to be deceased. But I put a finger on her neck to check her carotid artery, and as I touched her, she let out an almighty scream and jumped up out of the chair. Chris Potter said he also heard me scream, which I don't doubt. Chris, not knowing what was happening inside, there could have been an intruder there who'd attacked us, kicked the door down, and the whole door collapsed, including the brickwork and lintels around the door, a hell of a mess. Anyway, he came in, and this lady composed herself far quicker than Chris and I managed to do. And she said, "You two young men, you sit down and I'll make you a nice cup of tea." Lovely old lady. I think policing's become more sophisticated, more organised, a more professional body. And one of the better things that occurred was that when I joined, there was quite an alcohol culture. It was not uncommon for many police to drink on duty, and certainly after their shifts to go and drink again before returning to their homes. And over the years, probably into the mid-90s, that culture started to dissipate. And I'm pleased to say that there to my knowledge, there's no culture of alcohol use on the job anymore, which is a great advantage and a good advancement for a professional police force. I was the liaison officer for the Eastman trial, and when that was concluded, I volunteered to set up the Crime Stopper program for the ACT region and visited the Victorian and New South Wales Crime Stopper programs, and returned to Canberra and got sponsors and set up the Crime Stopper organisation, which had immediate results. It was a very successful introduction of a new policy.